was more than 1,000 people, thank you mainstream media, outside the Old Bailey yesterday in London to show support for Tommy Robinson as he faced his retrial for contempt of court yesterday, a case that has now been sent on to the Attorney General. Now, everyone who was there for their own reasons. I was there for two very specific reasons. One of them was to show support to Tommy Robinson, both the campaigner and the person, because what's going to happen now while he waits for the Attorney General to read his case is that he will be in limbo and his family will be in limbo, and he will have this hanging over him. They really, if they were in any way decent and any way listening to the public, they would simply drop it and let the man go free and let him get on with his life. There is another reason, of course, that I was there yesterday, and that reason, and I suspect it's the same for many, this outpouring of support for Tommy Robinson, this decent man who is telling the truth, also contains an outpouring of what I think is growing public disgust at the injustice of the society that we're living in. We are living in an unjust society. This is injustice. What Tommy Robinson, to jail Tommy Robinson for contempt of court, while not jailing several other people for the same charge, is injustice. The man is being persecuted simply for his political opinions and for his political activism. And people are increasingly knowing this, they're increasingly understanding this, that the state is involved in de facto persecution of those who criticise Islam. And regardless of the laws and regardless of the application of the laws, Britain is today a society of injustice. It's a society where someone who is fervently and passionately and angrily opposed to rape gangs is in jail under terrible conditions. Well, the rape gangs themselves continue to wander the streets. People, let them, when we do bother to arrest and jail these people, they get ridiculous sentences and they're back out on the street to do exactly the same thing. They rape overwhelmingly white girls and call them white slags, and that little fact is rarely mentioned. There's certainly no hate crime emergency going on, as there would be if the roles were reversed in this. But we're in a society of injustice in so many ways. We're in a society where 13,000 ex-British troops sleep on the streets, and we pay £2 million a year to protect Anjem Choudhury, a man who despises this country. We're in a society where people are thrown out of the army for simply having a photograph taken with someone who has done nothing but pledge his loyal support and love for this country. That's not fair. Things are just wrong. There's a real injustice across the board. Terrible crimes are taking place with impunity, while politically inconvenient people are shut down, either smeared by a dishonest media or jailed. This is not justice. We are not living in a fair and just Britain. We are living in a very dangerous Britain, and it's one that's becoming more and more dangerous year on year on year, both in terms of the crushing of dissent and in terms of the problems themselves. They're getting bigger. The rape is continuing. The jihadism is continuing. It's all just getting worse and worse and worse. None of it is fair. None of it is right. There is something very wrong in society when you are jailing people for contempt of court while allowing rape gangs to go free. There's something very, very wrong here. And I think that we ought to fix it. Now, Tommy Robinson is right about a lot of things, and one of the things that he said yesterday, and he was very right about, was that this country is ready for a political revolution, and it is. All the signs are there. The dissatisfaction with the mainstream political class is at fever pitch. People are ready. A recent poll showed that almost half the country wants to vote for a new party. They are tired of the same old stuff. There should be, there can be a political revolution in this country, a response to that desire of the people for real change now. They are tired of it. But it must be from the heart. This political revolution must come from the heart. It cannot be about careers. It cannot be about political one-upmanship or game playing or letting the media set the agenda and following their lead, letting them decide who we deal with, what we say, what we campaign on. No, the media has got to stop setting the agenda. This must be new, it must be fresh, it must come from the heart, and it must be for people. It must be for the girls who have been raped all over this country. It must be for their families. It must be for the Bobby on the beach who is sick and tired of this insane political correctness being foisted on them. It must be for the British soldier who has served his country and has now been abandoned to sleep on the streets. It must be for the British people. It must be a complete change in the direction of this country, a complete change in our political class, and a complete change in who sits on the benches of the Houses of Parliament, because only then will we actually fight. Only then will we actually regain the pride and the greatness of this country and make it a just society again. We've got to do it for the British people. We've got to do it for the victims of injustice. And yes, we have got to do it for Britain. Please join us. We will do it.